X equals negative b plus or minus school. Whoa, sorry, didn't see you there, graders. Hope everything's going well. Today we're going to be looking at 8.10 using nonlinear systems alongside our quadratic functions and trying to solve those to see. And basically what we're looking for is where those two lines intercept. So where our function, which creates the parabola, and our linear function connect. So we're going to be looking at two different kinds of lines here. So for the first system that we have, this first system of equations, you have one line. This function of x right here, negative x squared plus 48. 48 is the y-intercept, and negative 8 is our slope. And then the second function right here, g of x equals negative 2 times x minus 2 squared plus 32. So here's our quadratic equation. That's going to create that parabola. It's negative 2, so it's facing downward. And then this one, the slope is negative 8, so it's going to be going down like this. And I drew this on another page. Here's a little glimpse. I know it's not perfect, bear with me. But I'm going to show you how to work out the equation to solve it, and then I'll show you the graph. My graphs aren't as pretty, so I apologize. The book's, for some reason, the book is able to print things almost perfectly, whereas me drawing them just doesn't look as awesome. Anyways, so start off by graphing this, and we want to find the x-intercepts of this quadratic equation. And so what we do is we're going to set g of x to 0. And when we do that, we get negative 2 times x minus 2 squared plus 32 equals 0. We're going to add 32 to both sides. I'm sorry, plus 0, so we're going to subtract 32 to both sides. That gives us negative 2 times x minus 2 squared equals negative 32. Divide negative 2 from both sides. And so what you get is x minus 2 squared equals 16. We're going to apply the definition of a square root there, square root here, square root there, and we're going to get x minus 2 equals plus or minus 4, because the square root of 16 of any number is going to give you a positive and a negative number. Two negatives together, negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16, and 4 times 4 is positive 16 as well. So we're going to have two answers. We're going to have two x-intercepts. And you know that usually that's what happens unless the vertex is on the x-axis, which in here it is not. Anyways, so we're going to apply that x is going to equal 2, because we had to add 2 to both sides, 2 plus or minus 4, and that's either going to equal 6, because if you have 2 plus 4, that's 6. If you have 2 minus 4, that's negative 2. So the x-intercepts are going to be at 6, 0, and 2, negative 2, 0. And then let's find the vertex. And to find the vertex, don't forget this little guy right here, negative b over 2a. And that's going to give us our x-coordinate. And then we're going to have to plug that value into one of these equations, this one right here, in order to find the y value when we given the x value. So if we look at this, I want to find out what b is, and b is going to be, so I have to multiply this all out. So 2 times x minus 2 squared plus 32. And when I do that, when I multiply it all out, so I do x minus 2 times x minus 2, and then I multiply 2 times everything, what I'm going to get is 2 times x squared minus 8x plus 40. So my b value is going to be 8. I'm going to plug that in right here. Boom. And because it's negative b, since I have a negative 8 right there, a negative 8 is just a positive 8. And then we have to multiply 2 times a, and our a value is right here, 2. So plug that in, and that's going to give us 8 over 4. And so our x value is going to be 2. So we're going to plug 2 into this function right here. And when we do, you're going to get 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 40. So 2 times 2, 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 8 times 2, which is 16, is going to give us a negative 8 plus 40. Negative 8 plus 40 is going to give us 32. And so our vertex is going to be at 2, 32. So then after we have figured out that, we're going to graph that vertex. We're going to graph these x-intercepts on this function right here. Boom, boom, boom. And then we're going to look at the linear function here. F of x equals negative 8 times x plus 48. This is going to be our y-intercept, and this is going to be our slope. I'm going to graph it. Boom. And so the lines cross at 232 and 60. Those are our solutions. Okay, and notice you get two solutions here. We're about halfway through. We got a little bit more to go, and then I'll let you guys run wild. Another way to do this is to solve it algebraically. Since both of these equations are equal to y, what we can do is set the equation equal to each other. So I'm going to get negative 8x plus 48 equals 2 times x minus 2 squared plus 32. We want to multiply this out so that we can actually work with this. And so I'm going to get negative 8x plus 48 equals negative 2x plus 8x plus 24. And then I'm going to add 8x minus 48, which is the opposite of this, to both sides of my equation. That's going to set this equation to 0, which is going to help me find my x-intercepts. So when I do that, this side's going to be 0. And then, or not my x-intercepts, my x values. And then we can plug those in to find our y values, and then we'll know what our two solutions are. Okay, assuming that there are two solutions. Anyways, so when I do that, I get 0 equals negative 2 times x squared plus 16x minus 24. And so we want to factor this out. When we do, we get 0 equals negative 2 times x minus 2 times x minus 6. If you need help factoring those out, go back to the video on factoring. And so our x values are going to be 2, because 2 minus 2 is 0. And then it's also going to be 6, because 6 minus 6 is 0. And that's going to help us get to 0 here, because anything times 0 is 0. And so we're going to plug these values into our linear function. We plug those in the linear function because that's going to help us figure out where the linear function crosses with this quadratic equation. So we plug that right in. Boom. Negative 8 times 2 plus 48 equals 32. Negative 8, that's negative 16 plus 48 is 32. And then negative 8 times 6 plus 48 equals 0. Negative 8 times 6 is 48. Negative 48 plus 48 is 0, so 60 is our other solution. Last things last, if we graph this new system, I have the function of x equals negative x squared plus 10x minus 27. Figured out the vertex, which is at 5, negative 2. Figured out the, well, there are no x-intercepts here. Graphed these two lines, 2x minus 11. Minus 11 is my y-intercept, and then about 5.5 is my x-intercept for this line. For this line, it's negative 2x plus 14. So 14 is my y-intercept, and about 7 is my x-intercept. So those two lines cross. This line 2, does not, which is this one right here, does not touch my parabola. So if this one were not here and we just had this h of x equals negative 2x plus 14 and this, there'd be no solution. The two lines don't intersect. But because we have these two lines in here with the parabola, one of them will probably intercept. This line does cross, and it's about 4, negative 3. Looks like it's a solution. So the lines intersect at one point, and there's one solution. So when you can use graphing in order to find how many solutions there are. As you do that, just know that when you are dealing with a line and a function, which creates the parabola, there's either going to be 0, 1, or 2 solutions. For 0 solutions, if there's no solutions, it's because the lines do not intercept anywhere. That would be this line right here and the parabola. If there's one solution, that's because the parabola and the line intersect at only one point. They both go through the same point, and that is the only place that they intersect. And another possibility is that there's two solutions, and that's because the line goes through the parabola like it does here, boom, and it's going to give you two solutions. So that's basically it. That's how you're going to use graphs to solve nonlinear functions. Rewatch this if you need to. Go back to some of the other ones because this is the last lesson in this chapter. Afterwards is going to be basically assessment readiness and then test on functions. And we'll probably do that early next week, probably Monday. Anyways, have a good weekend, you guys. Watch these videos and just keep studying. All right, I'll talk to you later. This is Mr. Palacios saying peace.